Hello, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to the Indiana State Police Road Show. I'm your host, Sergeant John PERRINE, Public Information Officer for the Indiana State Police Indianapolis District. The Road Show is brought to you each and every week by the Indiana State Police Alliance and Cops for Kids, a subsidiary of the State Police Alliance. For more information about our sponsor, you can visit them at www.indianasfinest.com. We want to thank our good friend of the show, BK Brendan King, for hitting the record button on us and getting us on the radio waves across the great state of Indiana. We appreciate him so much. Also, your voice of the South Bend Cubs. So thank you very much, Brendan, and also Network Indiana and all the folks here at EMMIS that help get us on the radio waves. Our guests, a usual guest on the show and a popular face is Captain Ron Galvez, Chief PIO.
Hi, John. Thank you for having me.
And our special guest, and sorry, you're not the special guest, you're just the guest.
Just the usual.
Yeah. The usual, because you're so full of knowledge. You just come,
I know, right?
And it's just amazing.
Yeah.
So our other guest from the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department is Patrolman Ted CRAGEN. Ted, thanks for coming, and we're going to talk about the IMPD Leadership Academy.
Thank you for having me here. This is an honor.
And before we get to all that fun stuff, we're back on YouTube.
Yes, we are.
Our good friend Tom Trial behind the camera. He is here, and he is going to put our faces on YouTube and make us look so much better than we really
Welcome
do.
back, Tom. Good to have you back.
So happy to have Tom back. So, Ted, here we are. The IMPD Leadership Academy has grown into quite a popular thing. And so let's kind of talk back to maybe how it started and how it's evolved.
Yeah, so the Leadership Academy started back in 2010, and that was originally just an IMPD-only training. So now we're in our 11th year, and it has evolved to where it's opened up to, police departments and fire departments from all over the state of Indiana. And the current class that's in session right now has officers and firefighters from 14 different agencies that are all in the same class. So that's a tremendous bonus for the people to get to attend, because the networking possibilities that they have, to know people from so many different agencies it's very important.
What was the original premise of the class? You said it started off IMPD only, which I totally understand.
Yeah.
So what was the goal?
I believe it was back in 2010, there were just people that were looking for something more beyond your normal, promotion process to give them kind of a extended learning opportunities.
And I think one of the unique things about this class is it's not just for supervisors or people who want to be promoted. Every rank of officer is represented.
That's correct. We, for example, the current class, we have people that I believe have 3 years in law enforcement all the way up to 35 years in law enforcement. So it's the full spectrum of, brand new to close to retirement, and every rank from, patrol officer all the way up to deputy chief. So,
and throughout our careers in law enforcement, there's infinite opportunities for different training classes and things you can do, but I've often gotten such positive feedback from the IMPD Leadership Academy, and one of those is because of your partnership with Bill Westfall, because anybody who's been around law enforcement in the state of Indiana or in the Midwest has heard that name. And talk about how valuable he is to the program.
Bill's truly a gem, and to me, Bill Westfall is the Leadership Academy. He teaches approximately 50% of the entire academy, and the knowledge and the just the passion that he brings to it, I think, is what really translates to people.
I totally agree. You know what? I went through that course back in 15, and you hit the nail on the head. Of Bill Westfall's portion of it was just, when you sat there, you couldn't take enough notes, you couldn't soak it all in enough. But then you sat back and realized, well, a lot of those things are principles and things that we, as a law enforcement or even an emergency service community, are already doing. We just didn't have some of the terminology or how to maybe get it back into our lane a little bit. You know what I mean? So it was, once you kind of got all that put together, and then you combine it with the leadership test that he has, which I used to have all of those things posted in my old office back up north, but we still try to live by that, not only professionally, but personally.
Yeah. And Bill brings a lifetime of experience with him to the class. So he's a Vietnam veteran of the Marine Corps. He spent about 5 years as an Alaskan state trooper, went back to school at Florida State University, and then took a job with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, and then took a job with the Montana Department of Law Enforcement running their training academy. And then on top of that, 30 plus years as a instructor traveling the country.
And without question, he's one of the guys that when he talks, you listen. Mm-hmm. So Ron, you've been through the class. Talk about some of the valuable things that maybe you learned or that were kind of polished a little bit in the class that you've been able to move forward and take into your career.
You know, and again, I separate the professional and the personal, but yet at the same time, you know, my kids were younger, so I really found it a benefit when it came to especially teaching them as they're growing into young adulthood, leadership principles and things of that nature, but also bringing it to work because we are so, and our colleagues at IMPD are the same way, we're so autonomous in what we do and where we do it. You know, you do it here in the metropolitan area, we do it statewide, and we're trusted with, you're a leader in your community. We want you to be that. So taking these principles and this education forward when it's offered to us, because as soon as it was offered, you know, I jumped on board, you know, when it came through. So, you know, we used it. I used a lot of the principles in some of my promotion interviews, and I still try to use it today in the things that I do in day to day, especially when interacting with, you know, not only the upper echelon of our agency, but also with everybody at every level, you know, whether it's our civilian staff or our sworn staff.
Yeah. So Ted, we have people that listen across the state. If you're a sworn law enforcement officer or you're with the fire department and you're interested, tell folks maybe how they could get a hold of you to get information on how about the class.
Yeah, you could email me directly. My email address would be 21191@indy.gov, and I could get you more information that way. We've had, you know, people from every corner of the state that have attended, and I know that we have troopers from all over the state that come to every single class.
And we're very appreciative of that opportunity because I think our troopers always gain knowledge and gain skills from the class. And there are different leadership classes that people take, but I always hear great reviews, and maybe sometime soon I can be a participant as well.
If I remember correctly, I believe you're supposed to be a participant, but that keeps getting pushed off.
Yeah, so. Well, you know, life happens, right?
Yeah.
But it is important to me, and I think it is something that I want to do.
One of the favorite parts of that, aside from, you know, Mr. Westfall notwithstanding, were the capstones. And, you know, we got to learn not only about some significant events in the history of, you know, both Marion County and IPD, IMPD, but also the various levels of leadership, you know, without going into any great detail or into the weeds. But at the end of every week, we're putting together the principles that we learned during that week to that particular incident. And then, of course, writing a paper and really researching. So it was a phenomenal opportunity also to kind of pick the brains of not only the folks that were there, because we had an opportunity to listen firsthand, but also go out into the field to where these events actually happened. And you have a significant appreciation for the sacrifices, that were made all across the board, from the person that lost their life to their family, their friends, their supervisors, and the community as a whole. So it was just a riveting opportunity. And so if anybody's listening on the law enforcement emergency services side, highly recommend if you have an opportunity to embark on this journey.
And what are some of the logistics of the class? How long is it and things like that?
Yeah, so the class is 4 weeks long, but it's split up, so you go about 1 week a month, and then you have somewhere between 2 to 4 week off in between each week. So, for example, the class that's in session right now, they had a week in August. They're getting ready to come back next week. They'll have a week in the end of September, and then a week in the end of October. So what value do you think that this class has brought to your agency? I mean, I know a lot of IMPD folks go through it and then get promoted through the ranks, and before you know it, the people that are leading your agency are graduates of this academy. Yeah, so Bill Westfall always talks about, in his mind, he says that our agency needs to have 500 graduates in order for the agency as a whole to experience that change, that sea change, And one of the benefits is with other graduates, you kind of speak the same language because you're speaking the language of things that you've learned in the Leadership Academy. So, for example, one of the first things that Bill talks about is the DISC personality assessment. And the idea behind this is that all people, you can break their personality style down into 4 different categories. And that, certain people are going to be higher in one category versus the other. And if you're aware of your personal DISC personality traits and others, that could help you in times of conflict. You could understand why maybe they're saying or behaving the way they are, and you can adjust your communication style to navigate that situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and one of the other key components of the course was to bring an overall level of professionalism across the whole law enforcement spectrum. There's always a feel that we could be more, there could be increased professionalism, and and we as agencies, we pride ourselves in the various facets of what our agencies have to offer to the community. But I think when you have an opportunity, 500 people, that's wow, that's pretty awesome. Have you guys had 500 yet?
Not quite. We're when this class graduates, total graduates is going to be over 600, wow. But IMPD only is going to be about 350.
Very cool.
That's still pretty impressive, though.
Yeah.
It really is.
And anybody who has military experience, police, law enforcement, public safety, whatever, has a clear understanding of the difference between a boss and a leader, right? There's bosses and there's leaders. And this class is about developing those people who maybe just need a little polishing on that leadership, but it's valuable because people want to work for a leader. They don't necessarily want to work for a boss.
Bill really hits on that big, and he breaks down the fact that there's a difference between managers and leaders, and that there is a need for somebody to have both of those skills. But some of the clear differences, managers are, numbers based and leaders are people based. That you need to have both of those things in order to support the organization and for the organization to thrive. Oftentimes, whenever people are upset with their leaders, it's because the leaders are maybe more focused on the management side and not so much on the leadership side.
Right. And the one thing that I was always impressed with was that, going back to your earlier statement about rank, everybody from I don't want to say it that way, from patrolman all the way up with their agency has an opportunity to participate in this, so you've got let's say you got a guy or a gal with 2-3 years on, and again, I don't know what the requirements are to get in, but say 2-3 years on, now they're getting this education, they're getting an idea of what it's like to be a leader, and they can start to hone those skills. So again, I think the younger generation that you're getting into this mindset, 10, 15 years down the road, maybe Bill's dream of having a more professional profession is going to be achieved across the board.
And along those same lines, those younger generations, for lack of a better word, they're learning the decision-making process. So maybe they have a better understanding or more clear idea of those leadership decisions and how that works because they've experienced the same information. And maybe they become better employees because of it.
And I think too, so I'm thinking back, gosh, this is my 28th year, so I can remember way back when I was a 1, 2, 3 year troop, and listen to the guys in my position saying, "Your generation, you guys don't do this or don't do that, or you're this or you're that." Where when you go through this school and you learn all these principles, you get away from that mindset. As opposed to, well, this is how we did it in my day. Your way is wrong. That's not how it is at all. In fact, we try to get away from that. And
I know that we've worked really hard to transition away from let's do it that way because it's the way we've always done it.
Right.
And we've got to be able to explain why. So we've got about 40 seconds, Ted. Anything else you want to throw in here?
Yeah. So one of the key partnerships that we have at the Leadership Academy is with Jerry Baker.
Okay.
His son, Jason Baker, was killed in the line of duty back in 2001.
Wow.
And every year, Jerry and an organization called Beyond the Badge host a 5K.
Yeah.
And that's coming up on September 17th.
Excellent.
So if anyone would be interested, get online and find the
Awesome.
Beyond the Badge 5K.
Thank you very much, and everybody tune in next time.